For the last few weeks, I've actually been sitting down and sitting just praying about my finances, praying for the right wisdom, guidance, and knowledge from God to be able to help me out. And He's definitely helped me out in certain ways and helped me deliver. And I'll explain this in different ways because, with our finances, sometimes it's hard to really know exactly what to do. And even if you are knowing exactly what to do, sometimes we still can make dumb decisions as humans. That's just a default of who we are and how we act. And so I made sure to pray about my finances and see exactly what I could be missing potentially, or what things could have changed, and what God is showing me. And basically, what I'm seeing through the finances that God has been able to put installed into me is basically just how my spending has been based off of, and basically explaining the power of one, not only hyper socializing with your finances, but also the ability of giving as well. And I feel like, sometimes with finances, we stumble up and we do bad things because we know that it's our money, or we think that it's our money. And we know that, oh, because it's mine, like if something happens, like I'll be fine because I did the damage. But have you ever thought about if that money or if that, car wasn't yours? Say, for instance, you're driving someone else's car. They're giving you the full, authority and passage to drive their car under them. However, if you drive under their car, I assume 99% of people are going to drive their friend's car a lot more safer and always more, aware and vigilant because it's not their car, because they know they don't want to damage their friend's car. And I think we should start treating money like that as well. Because if you start looking at money as not your own money, and you start looking at it as God's money, you start to treat it better. Because you start to realize, like, wait, this isn't my money. Everything in the Lord, or everything in the earth is the Lord's, says the Bible. So when you start treating money like that, you start to treat it better. Because you realize, like, wait, this isn't mine. This is all the Lord's. And so this has allowed me to change my mindset, because since it's the Lord's money, I have to manage it better because it's not my money. And so therefore, it's not to say that you can't use money to, have nice things and do nice things. It's not saying that, God doesn't want all our money to just be spent out for Him. Like, He knows that. But it's more so like how we manage it and where our hearts are. One of the biggest things I want to do this year more is give. Be more giving. Give out to more people, family, friends, church members, anything it might be. Because giving is fun. Now, all the time, we always think about money, like, oh, but this money can be spent here, spent there. But it's also like, this ain't your money. This is God's money, and God told us to give. He told us how important it was to give. Now, He's not saying give all your money and go poor. He's not telling you to do that. But He is saying it's good to give, and it's way better for someone to give than for someone to receive. And that's in Proverbs. Like, we hear these things all the time, these sayings, and sometimes we don't really apply it. And even me, myself, I don't apply it as well as suits sometimes. But after praying about it and seeing it, it made me realize, like, giving has allowed me to be better with my finances, in a strange, weird way. It's like God somehow makes a way, things you don't see. Like, I'll give it an example earlier. I'm in school right now currently, and summer classes are coming up once the spring semester is over. And I was talking with my financial aid because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to have financial aid cover all the money. And a month ago, financial aid had sent me an email, and they basically were like, oh, you're going to have financial aid. However, you're not going to be able to apply for any student loans. So I was like, okay, fine. Hopefully I can, do something else or pay the money, whatever it is. The maximum amount of money I was trying to pay was like $2,000 in school fines if I had to. So finally, the financial aid came in. First, my school balance was $1,200. I was like, all right, that's manageable. I can go from there. Then I checked a day later, and a scholarship had came in. And it was this random state scholarship that I never applied for. And it came in on my summer fines. And now my payment dropped from $1,200 to $140 for a scholarship I never applied for. It got applied there. And also, I told you before, a month ago, financial aid said I couldn't accept any loans. I looked at my offers, and there's loans there. And I'm able to approve some loans. and use those loans to pay off my car that has a super high interest rate, because I only owe $140 to pay for school. So all the extra money can go to me to use for other things because the interest rate is less than my car. So I'd rather just use that money and then pay the student loans later. But all this to say is like, all that really just came from praying about it and having God help me, because all these things and some people might be like, oh, like that was just you, this and that. But nah, I know where it came from. I know that was all God. There's no way any of this could have been just for me. I know that wholeheartedly. So I just think about it. And not to say God's always going to do something like that. He's always going to help you in that way. God's timing is his time. If he didn't want to help me in that way and wanted me to just pay the fines, I would have still thanked him anyway. That I even have the ability to go to school or pay these fines for school. And everyone has that ability. And so I would have been grateful for it anyway. And that's why I'm saying, praying is so important. Anything, not even just finances. But in this case, I've been praying about finances and praying about the right things to do. And I'm finally understanding the right path and plan, especially, out here on social media where so many different people are giving you financial advice, and not to say it's always bad financial advice, but, sometimes financial advice is catered differently for each single person. Like some of the things that people say, it's just not viable for you. I won't lie. Like some people say to get 6 to 12 months emergency fund. That's hard to do in your 20s. I'm not gonna lie. That's really hard to do. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But I feel like it's not as realistic for me personally. And so that's why I don't really try to give too much financial advice in that way, because, at the end of the day, I'm not your financial advisor. Everyone's paths and goals are different. Some people might not want to have retirement money. Some people might want to just spend all their money and live with it. And that's just the way the world is. Not everybody's going to be having retirement. And the sooner I realize that, not to say I won't help people, I definitely want to give advice, to the right people at the right time. But it's also more so I'm not, tripping too much about it. I didn't want my channel to just be a how-to method of a bunch of different financial things. I want it to be more so my own experiences and what I've dealt with and how I plan to fix things. And if any of you resonate with that, you resonate with that. And if not, it's okay. And so for me, praying for my finances helped a lot. Being a Christian has helped a lot, and giving has helped a lot. So this is really something about me that has been important, and it's something that I advise for everybody to do and experience. You'd be surprised what happens when you start praying and not thinking about money as your own and thinking about it as the Lord's.